pretty lady.
Oh, bless you. Right back at you. How are you?
You've got your red lippy on today.
Yes, I just
you're looking
thought
lovely.
I wanted to feel a bit more cheery and colourful today. So yeah, love a bit of slap. It's brilliant for that, isn't it?
Yeah, lasts all day long.
Indeed.
It's the best lipstick. It is though, isn't it? Isn't it the best lipstick?
Plug for the best lipstick on the planet. Yes,
it is the best.
Yes,
it is the
yes,
best.
it is. Yeah.
So how's your week been?
It's been interesting. Progress with the business, which is great. Yeah, some really good things. So going in the right direction. Yeah, I'm very happy about that. How about you?
Yeah, I had a busy one. I've had a really busy one. And this morning I had a Zoom call that I completely forgot about at 9 o'clock. So there's me at the school today, we were dropping off all of sort of secondhand, or not secondhand clothes, but clothes that we're not wearing anymore.
Sure.
We're doing a big collection at the minute. So I'm dragging myself up the hill, because it's a big hill going towards the kids' school, with these bags of clothes and the kids and their bags. And took a nice leisurely stroll back down, got in the car, and then get a phone call from one of the ladies that I know locally to say we're on a Zoom call. And I'm like, oh no. But actually, do you know what? I came back, I had that call, and then I had another live call, and I feel like I've got loads done today. And Brilliant. I've got to speak to you for the last hour.
Bless you. Yes.
Win-win.
Yeah, thank you. And that's so nice that you say that. Oh, I feel like I'd be like, Henna. But once again, I think it's really worth reiterating how important and empowering having a mastermind, either a group or a person like you, because you just talking to you about stuff, you just help me get back on track, and I really appreciate that. So
yeah, and you too. I think it's I used to call it I still do, I call it my PAB, personal advisory board. And just sort of in my head, I have these probably 5 or 6 people that if I've got a question, if I've got a question, or if I've got
very nice.
I don't know if I've written a piece of content. I said to you today about a video. I'd like you just to check it out, just to have a look at it and see what you think.
Yes.
Just have people that you can tap into and ask questions, those better questions.
Sure.
And just ask for a bit of advice.
Yeah, and trust the feedback.
Feel a bit stuck.
It's coming from, and you basically did the same for me. We're talking about validation today, aren't we? And
we are talking about validation. Yeah.
Really interesting in the for me, the bit before we came on the podcast, I was talking to you about the new copy I'd done for my new website, and that I'm going to turn into a video. And someone had given that I'd asked to proofread was actually given me some feedback on it, which I hadn't actually asked for, but I know it was coming from a good place. And you said to me, well, you know what you're doing. You've done training with a lot of very high level coaches and stuff like that. So you know what you're doing, you're trying to achieve and what you want to achieve. So it's not about necessarily looking for validation from people when we ask for feedback. It's just like, how can this is what I'm doing, I'm really happy with this, how can I kind of make it a little bit better, or is there anything I've missed, isn't it, really?
Yes,
rather than
trusting
tell
yourself.
me that this is good enough, because if it is, you don't think it's good enough, I'll start again, because that can drive you crazy, can't it?
Totally. And that's it, trusting yourself that actually this is what I want to communicate, this is how I see it working, and just trusting that. And
totally.
that if you see that today, it may not be the case in 12 months time, or 6 months time, or 2 weeks time, and you can change it. Nothing's set in stone, but you've got to go with what feels right for you, I think.
Totally.
So
the great thing about this modern world is talk about flexibility, pivoting, yada, 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 and all our websites are, we can update them ourselves. I think I've changed my strap line for what Phenomenal People does. I don't know, I've changed it probably about 5 or 6 times over the last few weeks. Changed it, put it back, changed it, put it back. And now I'm like, no, this is absolutely, I'm happy with this on all platforms. People can relate to it, whether they're on LinkedIn or whether they're just coming on the website or whether it's Facebook. And I'm happy with that. I do what I do. Other people do what they do. And we have our unique gifts and experiences and perspectives to share. We don't have to conform and do what everybody else is doing anyway, do we?
No. And it's that you're not not one person is going to attract every single person.
Absolutely.
We're all different, so we're going to attract different people. Sometimes, you know, certain people are going to find you more relatable than me, because they're going to they're going to get you. Others might get me, or whoever else it may be. So I think it's really important that when you're, especially when there's that need to get validation from everybody else, which we all do, we all do that, just to bear in mind that, you know, we are unique. Trust yourself.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be the same as everybody else. You can be that, you can be different, you can be creative, you know. It doesn't need to fit into the mold, does it?
Totally. Absolutely. I had a architect boyfriend years ago, and he said he met this girl when he was training who was doing interior design, and she just had this great eye and ability to combine different color palettes and just create something really fresh and innovative. And she loved it so much, but she, you know, she wasn't trained at all. And then she thought, oh, you know, I better do it properly, I better go to design school and train. And he said it just took her edge away, because she was like, oh no, you need to do this like that, because she trained with a respected school. We've talked about this, haven't we? Sometimes, you know, oh, I'll get a qualification in this, or I'll do it, because we want it to make us look more credible, when actually
validation.
Validation. We've probably got, you know, enough experience to just get on with it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I've put here, we love to connect with other people, and if they don't approve of us or agree with what we're doing, it can make us feel like crap. And it makes us us feel good if they do like what we're doing, if we feel accepted. So let's use social media as an example. You know, you put something out there, whatever it is, you know, you could be doing something with your family, you put a post out there, if everybody likes it, you're looking at that and you're basing, how I see it, it's sort of like you're basing your self-worth on the amount of likes that you get.
Totally.
Which is madness when we think about it, and we all do it, but it's crazy when we think about it, because we're basing our self-worth on whether other people like our post or not.
Totally.
Which is so insignificant, because some people might like your post, but they don't necessarily tell you that they like your video or your picture or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
So I think we've really got to develop that greater sense of self-worth.
Totally. Well, thank you. I was going to just ask you, so how do you kind of how do you get to the point where you're not looking for external validation? Because of course that's how we grow up, and we live as part of a tribe in society, whether it's our family, whether it's our neighborhood, our country, whatever, and we're looking for, you know, whether we're like other people, whether they're like us, and we're constantly measuring, aren't we? And part of that do we belong thing is, am I getting validation? So how, Emma, how do you build yourself up so that you're not looking for that validation from external sources? Self-worth, you've started to say.
Self-worth, yeah, definitely. I just sort of take a bit of a rain check. And I think it's really important to be clear on what it is that you're trying to seek the approval for, if that makes sense. So sort of getting clarity on that, and sort of stepping outside. It's funny, I had the live that I had this morning was with a lady called Nicola Moss, and she's a systemic coach, and she talks about this really well, because she talks about when it comes to building your self-worth and really sort of getting in touch with your sort of your inner being, if you like, knowing who you are. So really sort of learning to accept yourself for who you are. And I think sometimes if you slow it down and it's really important to be able to get clear on what it is that you're trying to seek approval for. So if it was me and I'm finding that I'm seeking validation all the time, it's good for me to try and step back a little bit and actually ask myself, right, what is it? Why am I trying to seek approval for this? What is it feel I'm in need of? Or what do I feel I'm lacking in? Because then when we get clear on it, we can do the right thing to overcome it.
Yes.
And I listen to a short motivational video, and I listen to it every morning because I just love Oprah Winfrey. I think she's
Yeah, she's
amazing.
awesome.
And she done this talk at a university, and she stood up and she was talking about how important it is to know who you are. So she said, know who you are, know yourself, and then you have to learn to accept yourself for who you are. Because if you can do that, and it's challenging, but we can do this, the more we work on our self-worth, the more we work on our self-belief. But if you can do that and you're really in line with who you are, it's going to help you or prevent you from going out there and feeling like you need to seek approval from everybody else all of the time.
Very nice. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because, we are all different and all unique. And if I only value myself according to someone else's opinion, you're always going to be let down, aren't you? Always going to be disappointed. So
definitely.
Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you very much. You'll have to let us know, give the link for that,
I will do.
and I'll put it under in the YouTube details. So yes, self-worth is so important, isn't it? And we were talking about this a little bit as well before we came on the podcast. It can take a while to build it up, can't it? Because you go through a stage where, life gives us the joy of being tested, and you make up your mind, okay, I'm gonna validate myself, I'm gonna trust who I am, I'm gonna go with that, and then almost immediately you'll get something that challenges it, won't you? It's like, okay, do I really believe this? Am I really living it? And it can be, you can go through a time of being a little bit lonely with it, can't you? Which is why you need your tribe, where you're like, no, this is who I am. And it's what I'm about and what I want to do and what I want to contribute. I mentioned, I think last week, when I interviewed Aviva Wittenberg-Cox from 21st, who was one of the pioneers of gender, looking at gender balance in businesses. She said her biggest challenge was at the beginning, when she first started bringing these ideas into corporate businesses. It was alien to people, and she was doing it very much on her own. And if she hadn't known who she was and what she was about, she would have quit, because it's too hard, isn't it, otherwise?
Definitely. I think one thing we all tend to do, and I mean all of us, not just us women, but it's that comparing yourself to everybody else all the time, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that, more so now because of social media, and because literally at a click of a button, we're looking and seeing what everybody else is doing, where they're at and what they're achieving and how much success they've had. And then we're turning around and we're going, okay, well, why haven't I got to that point? Why haven't I achieved that success?
Yeah, totally.
And it's like that, again, doesn't do anything for our self-worth or self-belief, because we're comparing ourselves to others. We don't feel like we're achieving what they're achieving, which makes us feel like a failure. And then again, we're putting stuff out there, needing that validation, needing that approval.
Yes. Yeah, it's really important, isn't it, that we can just trust that we're in the right place at the right time. And it doesn't matter. Yeah, we are all going to make mistakes and have learning experiences, but it doesn't matter. If it that's why we, very early episodes, we talked about knowing what your why is, wasn't it? Because if it's important enough, you'll play the long game, you'll stay, and for yourself, for really learning to love yourself and developing that self-worth, it's worth the long game, isn't it? It's worth just a little bit every day thinking, no, I'm all right, I'm good enough. What I'm doing, is good enough, and I'm just going to keep taking either baby steps, depending on the day, or big steps, strides towards the life I'm creating, where I want to be, and enjoying the journey at the same time.
Definitely. So you talking about that kind of stuff, so I've got a question for you, because I know it comes down, and we spoke about this before we got on this call, but it comes down to the growth mindset, doesn't
absolutely.
it? Because if you've got this fixed mindset and you don't believe you can get better, then you believe that you've got what you've got because that's how it is and it's not going to change, then we're going to always be, I would always be looking outside for that validation. So how can we best develop that growth mindset?
Well, it's asking better questions, and we've talked about this, isn't it? So if we get that external response and it isn't validating, it's kind of undermining, and like, oh well, yeah, that's not very good, or people don't want to see what you're doing delivered in that manner, then it's really kind of stepping back and thinking, is that valid? Is it coming from a valid source? Is it valid information? And then you think, does that align with who I am and what I'm trying to do? And if it doesn't, you know, respectfully say to the person, thank you very much for your feedback, I appreciate it. You don't have to say, but I'm not going to take your advice, that doesn't matter. But it's about understanding, and you know, you're very big on clarity, Emma, aren't you, about, you know, if we're clear about what we're doing, doesn't mean that we can't flex and change our direction slightly, but it is about, you know, we're the one who's in the driver's seat. We can ask for the support of coaches, mentors, read books, blah blah blah, but at the end of the day, we're the one in the driving seat, and it's up to us to make those decisions. And I think, you know, it's like from on a personal level rather than a business level. Obviously, on a business level, if people aren't buying our products and services, sometimes we just think, yeah, this is the long game. We've got, people don't know who we are. Maybe we need to tweak our marketing or whatever. And just, you know, sometimes it's about consistency, keeping going. Sometimes it's about, maybe we need to tweak the way we're marketing. Maybe we need to tweak our message a little bit, or actually recognizing that maybe this isn't a product or service that people actually want, and that's not necessarily a failure. It's not a failure if you learn from it and grow and adapt. But on a personal level, if someone has kind of criticized you or put you down or whatever, and you feel knocked by that, looking at why that's knocked you, do you feel hurt because they've been insensitive? Do you not have very good self-esteem so that that's actually landed, that comment, and you're believing it? And then it's just looking at those things. Why don't I believe I'm enough? And if you've got past experiences or beliefs and stuff, it's about kind of sifting through that at various levels, whether or not you might want the support of a coach or someone else to help you clear those beliefs. But think about, is that belief and is that identity something that's serving me? Is it real, or is it a past thing? Was it ever real? And is it the identity I want or need to be moving forward? And we have the choice about how we see ourselves and who we want to be. And it's about, we talked last week about feeding the good wolf, isn't it? We feed the wolf that's confident, you know, knows it can be successful and compassionate. And also a really big thing for me with criticism from other people is just learning to be compassionate. You know, people are doing the best they can with where they are, and they might have even intended to be mean, but you're only mean to people if, you know, you probably on some level don't feel very good about yourself anyway.
Definitely. And I think we've got to stop being mean to ourselves.
Totally.
You know, stop giving the power to other people, whether they determine, you know, and give them, you know, the power to determine whether we have a good day or a bad day.
Absolutely.
Because of having to feel that acceptance. And that's why I think, like I say, it's so important that you really get clear on what you're seeking approval for, because you could be seeking approval for something that actually, if you go back through your past experiences, you've achieved, and you've achieved it really, really well, but you've just forgotten about it. You might not have achieved it at that moment in time, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know, I don't know if it's Tony, but someone talks about, I'll tell you who it is, it's Jim Rohn. He talks about standing guard at the door to your mind. And when these negative thoughts come in, actually, and I actually imagine this, I imagine a little man or a little woman in my mind, and literally standing there. And when the thoughts are coming in, if they're negative, like, oh, hold on a minute, I'm going to show you evidence that actually isn't true, because Emma's done this and this.
Very nice.
So we're not going to let that in. We're going to keep that out. We're going to keep the door locked.
Your name's not down, you're not coming in.
That's it. Your name's not down, you're not coming in. But I think that's a great way of overcoming your negative, your limiting beliefs as well. You're talking about beliefs. It's a great way to overcome your limiting beliefs, because you can actually look back and go, well, actually, I did this, and that shows that I've got confidence, or I've done this, and that shows that I've got, courage, or whatever it might be. If you're feeling that you're lacking in those areas, look back at past experiences to identify where you have shown up. And that builds self-worth, doesn't it?
And very much so. And I think if anyone's listening and they're thinking, well, I can't think of anything, I'm starting out, or I've just come out of something that's kind of devastated my confidence, or I'm young and I don't have a lot of life experience to kind of draw on that. I think, look, going forward, what is it I want to create? Who do I want to be? And that's where we, look at role models. I mean, you mentioned Oprah. She's such an extraordinary role model, because she went through a lot in her life, didn't she? And she's come out and been so successful. But, there would have been times at the beginning where she would have thought, I don't know if I can do this, but you just have to think, well, I'm going to try. I'm going to do it. And then get around the right people who are going to support you with that. And sometimes we can't see our own worth, and you need trusted friends, trusted kind friends. If you can say, I'm just feeling a bit wobbly today, can you kind of
give me a bit of support,
and maybe big me up a little bit, tell me what you think I'm good at, because I just can't see it at the moment, and you'll know whether it's like a little bit of needy, I want my attention, I need attention, I need a bit of stroking, or whether it's just like, actually I've kind of got a bit caught up in this negative story right now, help me to see what I'm missing.
Definitely. And that's why the PAB, like I say, the advisory board is such a good thing. And we've done a podcast previous to this episode around why it's so important to surround yourself with the right people and the community, because it makes such a difference. I think it makes a huge difference to your success. If you're not surrounding yourself with the right people, it's going to be, that's not to say you're not going to become successful, but it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a lot harder.
And we have to remember as well that, and it can be really well-meaning, that if you if you decide to kind of pursue your personal growth and development, or your business development, it might mean that you'll outgrow some of your friends. And they're not always going to be happy about that, and sometimes people most well-meaning will actually kind of try and sabotage you a little bit, because they don't want to lose you in their circle. I mean, the classic thing of, you want to lose weight and you want to get fit, but your friends aren't doing that, so they'll be like, oh, come on, just have another drink, or I brought around some cake. And it's not meaning to be mean, but it's like, oh no, come on, stay like us, be like us, and then we can,
well, it makes them feel comfortable, and I think it stops them shining a light on themselves, where they're having to ask themselves those questions.
Absolutely.
Am I moving forward? Am I achieving what I want to achieve?
Or not even, sometimes it's even as simple as, am I happy with my life and
with where I'm at,
where I am? Absolutely.
Well, that's cool. Thank you, Felicity.
Thank you.
So when it comes to validation and seeking approval from other people, how can we stop? We can develop a greater sense of self-worth and self-belief. We can know who we are. So learn to accept yourself for who you are. Follow your own path. Trust that you're doing it the right way. And if you're not, there will come a time you'll realize that, and you'll maneuver and you'll change it.
Change your direction.
You'll change your direction. And we said about trusting ourselves. What else do we say? Stop comparing yourself to other people. And if you're finding you're doing that a lot, then maybe get a break. Take a break from social media. Get off social media. If you're finding that you're scrolling through social media and you're watching what other people are doing and you're comparing yourself to them, just take yourself away from the places where you find you're doing that.
Yes. And feed the good wolf. It's easy to say develop your self-worth, but we have it, all of this, everything that we talk about has to be implemented for it to work. You have to practice like a marathon runner. Very few people are ever going to get up one morning and say, okay, it's a marathon today, I'm going to run 26, it's 26 miles, isn't it, with a marathon? I'm going to run 26 miles.
26,
it takes training, doesn't it? And with
Yeah.
self-worth, we need to feed that identity where we are confident, where we're successful, where we're kind, where we're, you know, generous, where we think of ourselves, you know, we've got the intelligence or the ability to learn the skills we need, rather than the whole, I can't do it, you know, everyone's always told me I'd never be able to do it. I mean, again, my mum has been, my mum that passed in April, she's been one of the best teachers, and I never mean to be slagging her off when I talk about her, but she never had any faith in me. She didn't think I could really achieve anything, that I would never stick at anything. And it was very much like, okay, well, do I believe that? Does that define me, that lack of validation? Or am I, you know, and initially it might have been, right, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. But when it got to a stage in my life when it's actually just, no, that's not who I am. So yeah,
definitely
know who you are, as you said.
Know who you are. Okie doke. And now there's a couple of inspiring stories I've got today,
Come on then.
because I tell you what, I've watched it twice, and oh my God, I absolutely loved it. Biggest Little Farm. Did we speak about that last week?
No, we didn't. We didn't. Yeah, I sent you the link for that. Isn't it just
listen, oh my God, anyone listening, you have to watch it.
Yeah.
I actually put a broadcast out saying it was on Netflix, but it's not on Netflix. I got it from Prime. I couldn't find it on Netflix, so I got it from Prime. I paid for it on Prime. Yeah. But it's the most inspiring, beautiful story.
Didn't we? Because we said it's the long game. It took them 12 years, didn't it?
Yes, that's right. Okay, so I watched it and I absolutely loved it. So if you haven't watched it and you're listening, please go check it out, because it's the most beautiful, inspiring story. And even the kids watched it. So I watched it once with Matt, and then I sat down and watched it with my mum and the kids, and they loved it. Yeah. But they're calling it a miracle. This was on the Good Feel Good Network. Is it the Feel Good Network?
Yes.
Online. So they're calling it Miracle on 34th Street. But a little tiny owl was stowed away in the Rockefeller Center. They've got a big Christmas tree up in the Rockefeller Center at the minute, and a tiny little owl got caught in the Christmas tree. And I was like, oh. So after watching the Biggest Little Farm, and then this tiny little owl it was found in the Christmas tree at the Rockefeller Center last week. So it was brought to safety, it was fed, and it was freed, and it's been named Rockefeller. That's so cute.
Yeah, that's lovely.
That's lovely. And the other thing, literally, as just before we started the podcast.
Yes, I'm jealous about this.
The kombucha. So I don't know if anyone has heard of kombucha. But me and Felicity have a bit of a thing for Matthew McConaughey. I think I've pronounced his name right. And he was being interviewed the other week, and he was talking about this, and he was saying about kombucha, because he was saying he swears by it, and he puts his health and his, you know, vitality and everything that's fantastic about him and his body down to drinking one of these every single day. So me and Matt have just ordered, I think we ordered 12. The company's called Booch and Brew.
Okay.
They're a UK-based company, and it tastes amazing.
Okay. It's fermented, isn't it? So it's really good for your gut. Yeah. Yes,
it's fermented tea. It's made with organic loose leaf tea, organic cane sugar, and they call it their house. I think it's spelled SCOBY, SCOBY or SCOBY.
Yeah.
So it's a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. So it's meant to be fantastic for the gut.
Amazing.
It tastes amazing, because I'm off the alcohol. I'm still off the alcohol. This month.
Yes. Well done, Em. Well done.
So I've got next week. It's funny, I haven't really missed it at all. However, last weekend I had a bit of a day with the kids, and it was the first time I thought, do you know what? Just a little glass of red would be lovely.
Yes.
But actually, this is a fantastic alternative, because it just feels like something a bit special, you know.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like you want something nice to drink. It doesn't actually have to be alcohol. So well
that's
done
beautiful.
you. Well done you. I haven't been
Thank
quite
you.
so diligent on the old alcohol thing. I mean, thankfully I haven't drunk the whole case, which I thought I might do within the first 2 days of lockdown, but I haven't. But I have been having a glass of wine. But I've been measuring how much, not because I've got any concerns about it, but you know what it's like. It's like easy to, oh, have a glass of wine,
Yes.
have another glass, and then you realise you've been having
done a
glass of
bottle
wine every night. So I've limited myself to a few days a week, and I'm ticking myself off just to keep an eye on things. Well, you know, when we measure stuff, we can improve the good stuff and stop doing the unhealthy stuff, can't we?
Definitely. Awareness, even in business, isn't it? Awareness. If we're aware of where we're falling short, or if we're aware of what needs to grow, then we can do the right things.
We can make the shifts. Yeah, absolutely. Well, lovely. You've shared 3 lovely stories with us. I'm so glad that you loved The Biggest Little Farm. It's just
amazing.
And what I really like about it, because it's over 12 years, it's very much like a snapshot of life, isn't it? Well, it is their life.
Incredible.
Like, it doesn't happen in 5 minutes, and you can go for quite a long period of time thinking, oh, this is tough. But if you keep going,
and that's what it was. It was persistence. They were they kept on. They just, and even when the little hurdles come up and they're going, well, why is that happening? It doesn't make any sense. And it was like they left it to Mother Nature, and no different to us when we're talking about just knowing who you are and just following your path. It will work out. It will unfold how it's meant to unfold. You've just got to keep at it.
Absolutely.
As soon as you stop, that's when it all stops.
Absolutely.
You have to keep at it.
And you just reminded me, now correct me if I'm wrong because you've watched it more recently, but even when he had a blip, it's like he was trying to do the right thing, let nature do her thing, but it was a coyote, wasn't it?
Shot it.
Killed the goat, was it?
The coyote kept killing all the chickens, and then it killed.
It killed the favourite chicken, all the chickens. So he shot it. So that was a blip because he was supposed to let nature find its own level, but they've just got back on track, didn't they? And
the coyote was there for a reason. Everything played its part, which I loved. I just loved the whole creation process, as everything had a part to play. And if you relate that to business, it's like everything you're doing has a role. Yes, you may fail at something, but that's only teaching you what not to do the next time round. So everything plays its part. It was fantastic.
Beautiful.
Loved it.
Well, this has been another lovely chat with you, Em, and thank you so much. And
we'll
have a wonderful week. And we got our guests next week.
We have.
We've got our first guest next week. So Sharon Simpson, who's an amazing friend of mine, and she's had various different businesses, and she's kind of evolved through trying different things to her company now, Dark Romantics, which is interior designs and interior pieces, which she's like, now I've absolutely found my joy and what I really, what I'm good at, and it's all come together. But again, it's taken a few years. Sharon and I have known each other over 10 years, and it's only just this last little while she's like, yes,
brilliant.
Everything she's done has led to this and enhances this. But she's a really inspiring lady, so I'm really looking forward to having her as our first guest on the call next week.
Fantastic. So she's going to come and share her story. We're going to ask her a few questions on how she's achieved the success and what she's learned through the process of trying all these different things, and we'll be sharing them with you. So we'll catch up next week.
Lovely. Lots of love, my dear. Have a fabulous week.
And you take care.
Bye.
Bye.